emotions. Just want to quit tennis right now, but we'll see. We'll see in a few days. Hopefully I'll get back on track.
Do they have the rage rooms here in Paris?
They have everything in Paris.
You got everything in Paris, okay. Oh, I was feeling sad, actually. I was kind of like taking on her emotions. A lot of empathy for
Venus Williams watched Aryna Sabalenka destroy a 6-3, 5-3 lead in real time. And what Venus said next reframed the entire debate about what it actually takes to survive at the top of professional tennis, not as a critic, not as a rival, as someone who has lived inside that same fire and learned slowly, painfully, how not to be consumed by it. This is the story of two completely different minds colliding at the highest level of the WTA Tour, and caught between them is a 21-year-old left-handed Filipina named Alex Eala, watching, absorbing, and carrying the lesson into the most important stretch of her career.
happened today. It happens to every player at some point in time, and it hurts. I think the worst part is that you've let your own self down. You have to deal with letting yourself down is the hardest thing in the world.
It was June 3rd, 2026. Aryna Sabalenka, world #1 reigning Australian Open champion, a player who had already won titles in Brisbane, Indian Wells, and Miami that season, walked onto the clay at Roland Garros as the tournament's heaviest favorite. Her opponent in the quarterfinals was Diana Schneider, ranked 25th in the world. Sabalenka took the first set 6-3, then built a 5-3 lead in the second. She was 2 games from the semifinals, and then something broke. Sports psychologists would later describe what followed as a textbook activation of panic mode. Under the pressure of high Paris winds and a mounting Schneider resistance, Sabalenka's internal architecture fractured. She didn't lose a game. She didn't lose a set. She lost 10 consecutive games, conceding the match 3-6, 7-5, 6-0. In the press room afterward, Aryna Sabalenka sat in front of the cameras and said words that no world #1 is supposed to say: no thoughts, no emotions. I want to quit tennis right now. She described her mental state during the collapse as a deep, dark hole, one she was entirely unable to escape. The tennis world held its breath, but one person watching from the TNT Sports analyst desk had seen this before.
On disappointment, and it's hard to sleep at night with that. But what I'll also say is that any of us would take the year she's had.
Oh, you ain't lying.
So I think she's just amplifying it.
Venus Williams didn't flinch. The 46-year-old American, a 7-time Grand Slam singles champion with 49 career titles and a 74.5% career win rate, offered something far more valuable than shock or judgment. Venus offered perspective. Serving as an analyst for TNT Sports during the French Open, Venus acknowledged the raw reality of what Sabalenka had just experienced. She said that having to deal with letting yourself down is the hardest thing in the world. But Venus's commentary went further. She advised that highly emotional players like Sabalenka should deliberately delay their press room appearances, let the acute cognitive distress of defeat subside, and neutralize that impulse to make declarations that the chaos of the moment simply can't survive in the morning light. That wasn't generic wisdom. That was the architecture Venus Williams has spent 3 decades building inside her own mind. The foundation was laid by her father, Richard Williams, who coached both Venus and Serena through their historic rise, once told his daughter, "Unless you have a time machine, why go back? Just go forward." Venus took that and turned it into a competitive philosophy. Mistakes aren't catastrophes. They're neutral data points. Setbacks aren't threats to identity. A bad set is simply, in Venus's own words, a moment in time. And this is where things shifted, because cognitive science has since confirmed what Venus Williams knew intuitively.
But when you have like that variety and you're used to having to push people around through like the spins and the drops and the angles, it's a lot easier to adjust.
Research on the stalemate stage of competitive tennis, those high-pressure moments where matches are won or lost, has shown that positive and neutral emotional states generate measurably faster reaction times and higher prediction accuracy than negative ones. Negative emotions reduce tactical anticipation, both straight line and oblique. They trigger cognitive overload. They narrow the athlete's attention at precisely the moment the game demands the opposite. That's what happened to Aryna Sabalenka on June 3rd. The wind didn't beat her. Schneider didn't beat her. Her response to them did. Sabalenka has acknowledged this herself. She's admitted that her overreactions previously compromised her level and handed opponents a visible target. To address it, she reunited with her sports psychologist and began working with mindset expert Jason Stacy, developing systemic cognitive strategies to handle match play stress, especially on faster surfaces like grass, where compressed reaction times leave no margin for emotional interference. 17 days after Roland Garros, on June 20, 2026, Sabalenka lost the Berlin Open semifinals to Jessica Pegula. The deciding set, 6-0. The pattern had repeated, but something else was happening in Berlin that same week, and it tells a completely different story. Alex Eala arrived at the 2026 WTA 500 Berlin Open, having already made history. The 21-year-old Filipina reached the semifinals, defeating Donna Vekic, Elena Rybakina, and Elena Svitolina in succession. Multiple top 10 victories, the kind of run that announces a career. Then came Bad Homburg. In the singles first round, Eala was beaten cleanly by Belgian veteran Elise Mertens, 6-3, 6-3. No drama in the scoreline. Just a loss that had to be processed, released, and left behind. Because the grass court season doesn't pause for disappointment. What happened next doesn't show up in rankings or prize money tables. Alex Eala was granted a wildcard doubles partnership with Venus Williams. For the first Filipino player in the Open era to receive a Grand Slam seeding, Eala would officially become the 29th seed at the 2026 Wimbledon Championships. This wasn't just a doubles draw entry, this was a classroom. A real-time transmission of everything Venus Williams has learned about competing, recovering, and enduring across more than 3 decades at the highest level of the game. On June 24, 2026, the two stepped onto the Bad Homburg courts as partners. They defeated the American-Australian pairing of Catherine Harrison and Alexandra Osborne, 6-3, 6-4. Eala's baseline aggression, powered by a left-handed forehand that generates unique court geometry, fused with Williams' clinical net intelligence. The chemistry was immediate. The following day, June 25th, they were defeated in the quarterfinals by the second-seeded tandem of Teresa Mihalikova and Olivia Nichols, 6-3, 6-2. But here's what the scoreline can't capture. Eala used that entire experience as a cognitive reset. Rather than carrying the weight of the Mertens singles loss into Wimbledon, she learned, standing beside Venus Williams on a grass court, to release the last point and execute the next one. That specific discipline is what Venus has been practicing since before Eala was born. Eala arrived at Wimbledon 2026 not burdened, cleared. And then there's the question no one in tennis is really asking directly. That's the one sitting at the center of all of this. Venus Williams, the woman being held up as the gold standard of professional composure and career longevity, is currently on the longest losing streak of her career. As of 2026, Venus has lost 10 consecutive matches, making her the first former world #1 in history to suffer 10 consecutive defeats. Earlier this year, she received her 7th wildcard of the season to compete in Madrid, a decision that drew sharp public criticism from former world #2 Yevgeny Kafelnikov, who argued that wildcards should be reserved exclusively for developing players. That's the contradiction sitting at the heart of this story. The woman advising Sabalenka to protect her composure, to delay the press conference, to stay process-focused, is simultaneously navigating a wildcard controversy, a 10-match losing streak, and a career that most analysts consider long past its competitive peak. And yet Venus Williams, at 46, ranked world number 479, keeps showing up, keeps competing, keeps mentoring, keeps carrying the philosophy forward. Is that the ultimate proof that the Stoic framework works? Or does it raise a harder question about when professional standards become personal persistence and whether the line between them is as clear as Venus Williams makes it appear? Now add this, Serena Williams, aged 44, has accepted a Wimbledon singles wildcard and a doubles wildcard alongside her sister, a reunion of the pair who have won 6 Wimbledon doubles titles together. The return reportedly was sparked by Serena's 8-year-old daughter, Alexis Olympia, who urged her mother to walk back through the gates of the All-England club one more time. 2 Williams sisters, 1 grass court, 1 young Filipina carrying their philosophy into the seeded draw, and Aryna Sabalenka, world number 1, still working with Jason Stacy, still searching for the cognitive architecture that keeps the tiger from turning on its own handler, preparing to play the fastest, most unforgiving surface on tour. The question Venus Williams' entire career refuses to answer is this: is emotional control something a champion learns, or something a champion simply is? And if Alex Eala has absorbed it from the source, will it hold when the lights are brightest? On the grass of Wimbledon, in the first Grand Slam of her seeded career? No one knows yet. That's the only honest answer, and it's the one worth watching.